I really want to know what everyone thought about the Riddler. Like, as far as not just how he acted, but as a villain in this movie. Like, where does he rank as a villain? Because I didn't feel that. I felt that that's where it could have been even better if you had more of a villain. Like, he didn't feel very villain-like. He seemed very planned out. It wasn't very like the antithesis of Batman. Like, it was just a guy that he's going to go through to still become who he's becoming.
Yeah, like there's the next villain's going to be bigger kind of thing, right? That kind of setup.
It's not. I think about it. Dark Knight. What made Dark Knight so great? I mean, because Joker was unbelievable, like the best villain you've ever seen. Like, it was on that level.
Yeah.
You know, what made Bane so awesome? You know, because he was just crazy. You know, and then it was a twist again. You know, I'm just saying, like, where do you feel like? Do you think the villain was strong enough? A good movie. This is a really good movie, but I feel like they could have done more with a better villain, with a few more twists. It was just lacking in that for me.
I think. No. I was gonna say, I think with the riddles, what the Riddler was leaving behind, like Batman solved them like it was nothing. You know, I know he's supposed to be the smart detective, the crime fighter detective, or whatever, but like the riddles came out, and he's like, you know, he looked around, he's like, oh, a dead man or a blind horse or whatever it was, and I think like for him, it came out pretty easy to him. If they would have stumped him just a little bit more, I think that would have prolonged it, gave the audience members a chance. I'm like, what is the clue? You know, how's the answer to that? As far as that goes, I think the Riddler itself, I expected a little bit more, not just some dude that, you know, gave himself up and in the restaurant. You know, I expected some fight. I expected something, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not a big comic book fan. You guys probably already know this, so it probably came off the comic book somewhere. But it was.
If you guys don't mind, I'll go next with the Riddler. The Riddler was, I saw other videos talk about it, and I even thought about it right off the bat. Was Zodiac Killer. Like they were basing it off the Zodiac Killer, 100%.
Yeah.
And then watching other videos and then confirming it, I was like, yeah, you know. So that's what I got the more vibe where he was like that kind of Riddler. You know, he wasn't like the Jim Carrey, I guess, if you ever seen that one, where he was very over the top and silly and stuff like that. But this one is definitely more real in that aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mind him as much because there was like the riddle in the riddle, which after you get 5 layers deep of the Inception type of shit, like it gets a little like I get it, you know. But then even at the end of the day, I'm like, you're not even smarter than Batman. Like you didn't even know who's who kind of thing, you know. And that kind of upset me because so for Riddler got to an apex, got to the point where he's in jail and he's talking to Batman. Full spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. And what? I'm like, oh, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the apex, the climax of the movie. And I thought he should have mind effed him. There should have been one last mind F where it's like, ha, I got you. And instead it was like, I'm like, oh, I did this and I made you think. Now I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna blow everyone up. I was like, what? It didn't sit right with me. Right. I don't know about you guys, but it didn't sit right. It should have been more of a mind, like he messed with his head. He's like, oh, I made you, you know, like you don't know about your parents. Now you're screwed about that. Right. So now I want you to be screwed with yourself. You know.
Yeah, but he thought he was working with Batman though. Like in his mind, he thought he was helping Batman. So he's not gonna go out of his way to mind fuck him.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of silly though. It was like he if he's that smart, and the Riddler is really, really smart, you know, it's like he kind of teased like he knows he's Bruce Wayne, and then he could have been like, oh, I want you to like look inside yourself and see that you're kind of messed up, you know, because that's what the Joker did in The Dark Knight. And I know, like, you know, it's not too fair to compare the two because they are very, very different, but that's what some of the good villains in any movie does to the good guys, is make them look at themselves and like, am I doing what is right? Am I the good guy? Am I the bad guy? And I feel like, especially with this version of Batman, like this Joker would be like, are you really the good guy with your parents being screwed up, and like Bruce Wayne is like, oh, I'm a rich white man, but I could do more, running in the streets. It was like, what? like you're the richest man in the world and you're 20 something at this point. And you're like, nah, I can't do anything with my billions of dollars, but me going beating up, guys in makeup. Yeah, that'll change the world. I thought that was so stupid. But I mean, that's what the Riddler could have done is like, you got all this money. Cause he kept saying, oh, you're not the same kind of orphan. You're not the same kind of like how I was. And I thought that's what he was going to get to. Instead of it was like leading this way and then quick like shot the other way, and like that's why I'm blowing everything up. I was like, what? So I don't know. That's why for me it was like I loved him. I didn't like his dominatrix mask where I can't understand him that much. But for the most part, I thought he was a good character with good motivation. Just the ending of this whole movie kind of like wasn't horrible, but it kind of like it could have been perfect. It could have blown Dark Knight out of the water, and it was right there for me. It was right there to the end. I don't know what. Who else thinks about Riddler?
Go ahead,
Raiden, Mark. All right, go for it.
Dibs. So, I totally agree. Riddler could have been great. He could have been phenomenal. He was just right under that bar, right under. He wasn't bad. He wasn't mediocre. He wasn't a bad villain, right? He was more like an anti-hero, like how Braden said, working with Batman. In his eyes, he's kind of lost it like a long time ago. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to bring justice to the city, but I'm going to do it my way, the mysterious, messed up Riddler way. And I know you mentioned Jim Carrey's Riddler. I think he did better than Jim Carrey's Riddler. Although Riddler did miss one thing, the wittiness that Jim Carrey's Riddler kind of had. The wittiness, you don't need comedy too much with the Riddler, but the Riddler's, he's so smart. He's supposed to be so smart that he has that gotcha moment every time with these riddles. And we kind of missed that in this movie. Tank, you mentioned earlier that the Riddler didn't have that gotcha moment, but I disagree. It wasn't emphasized the way we wanted it to be, but he did try to be like, hey, man, I know you are Bruce Wayne. And he tried to play that out. But Batman, he one-upped him by saying, no, you're a sick man. And you're totally wrong. You're totally off your shits. You don't know what you're talking about. That was the moment that was supposed to be emphasized in the movie and really, been the, ha, I got you. And it just didn't have the feeling that was meant to be executed. I think that was the gotcha moment, but it just wasn't. It wasn't on 10. It was like at an 8.
But wasn't it like not a gotcha moment? Because he's like he really didn't know he was Bruce Wayne. He just was saying like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he's the one who got away. Like he's the one we didn't get.
He didn't know.
So he didn't. I don't think he realized Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Exactly.
No, I think he did. I think he did
that out, especially being the Riddler. I was like. I
think he did. You know why? Because the whole time he kept mentioning, and even the little spoiler link at the end, Rata Lala, the winged rat. He knew. There was so many clues early on that he knew who Batman was. He figured out Riddler's supposed to be so smart that he would have gotten who Batman was, being Bruce Wayne, early on. But
if he thinks he's working with Batman, he wouldn't have blown up Bruce Wayne.
Why were you?
Well, that was supposed to be the gotcha moment. That, in my opinion, when he knows, you wouldn't admit that he's Bruce Wayne early on, because then Batman's going to go into hiding. He's not going to do what the Riddler wants. So he wanted to egg him on and feed him little crumbs left and right until he did exactly what he wanted, was bring the rat to light. And then once he did so, then he was going to spoil everything and kind of try to pull what Heath Ledger did, where you try to make Harvey Dent, the White Knight, turn into like the worst person ever. He tried to have that moment in the movie. And of course Riddler failed. But I think he knew who Bruce Wayne was earlier on. He just didn't want to ruin it. And again, this goes with execution of, I don't know if it's writing or if it's what's up, Alyssa? How it was supposed to be done, but I think he did know he was Bruce Wayne. I just think the execution wasn't there to have the gotcha moment be so big, such a pop, As far as Riddler, his getup, he's I heard that behind the scenes, the Riddler was meant to have like a saran wrapped face, which sounds ridiculous, and he was even willing to do that, which was weird. So it was supposed to be a mysterious look. It wasn't supposed to be a look where you're like, haha, I'm taking credit for all this, bad shit, and you're gonna put a brand on me. No, he was supposed to be more of like a dominatrix, mysterious kind of guy, and not everybody likes that. And all of us can kind of agree that not everybody likes that type of mystery when it comes to the Riddler, because we're so used to something a lot different from the comics and from Jim Carrey's Riddler that's already been executed.
See, Jim Carrey's Riddler, I wouldn't even count as a Riddler, because that movie, first of all, Val Kilmer was Batman. Second of all, his bat suit had nipples, and third, you can't be serious with that movie, because I think that movie had Jim Carrey, great actor, had Tommy Lee Jones?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it had Two-Face. Yeah, it's Two-Face, another great actor. But they put them in a comedic, cartoonish type of atmosphere. Now, if that was different, yeah, I could see that being different, but they didn't. So that type of style, I wouldn't even count that as Riddler, even though he played a character, and the clues there were a little bit more, was like Kramer mentioned, a clue within the clue within the clue, because everything was add up Mr. Enigma, because it had numbers or whatever. So either way, I wouldn't even count that as it. I just don't realize, or maybe I failed to realize, how important was Riddler in this movie. I don't think he was that important.
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Oh, go ahead.
He's a setup guy. So I don't know if you've seen, spoiler alert, if you've seen in the very end, we get an introduction, or like a sniff of the next possible villain, who, spoiler alert, is going to be the Joker. Very cheesy, laughing Joker. But in the comics, Joker and the Riddler have a relationship in one of the comics where they kind of team up, and then they try to outdo each other, and then that's a whole thing. We also get a setup. I don't think Riddler was meant to be your best villain. I think he was meant to set a somewhat high bar and then go up from there, because the next possible setup villains are going to be Bane, and I'll tell you why in just a hot second, Joker, and one more. Oh, and Two-Face, Harvey Dent. So we lose our DA in this movie, which sets up a possible new DA in the next one, kind of similar to The Dark Knight. And then we get a very small glimpse, very possible. It's a lot of speculation, not much really to go off of, but we're going to get possibly Bane within the next movie or two, based off of when Batman, he's down and out near the end of the movie, and he has no energy. His body is just drained. He's been fighting, and he's done, right? So he pulls out this magic little green, almost like an adrenaline shot, but it wasn't an adrenaline shot. It was way more than that.
It was an adrenaline shot.
Adrenaline shot. It was
adrenaline shot.
Well, adrenaline shots don't give you bad emotions. He almost tried to kill a guy. No, adrenaline shots don't do that.
Yeah, it gives you energy.
It gave you energy, but if you saw Batman throughout the whole movie, he does not want to kill. When he took that adrenaline shot and he saw that Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, was about to get, offed, he said, "Nah, fam," and he was punching dude. And after he already had taken him out, the Batman way would have been, "Hey, you don't finish off the dude and kill him." They had to, Gordon and Zoe, and I don't know who else was there, had to pull Batman off before he went full in, kill mode. You don't do that from adrenaline shot. That gives me more vibes of the Venom or the stuff that Bane's made of, and the stuff was green. How ironic is that?
It could be. I wouldn't mind.
The ooze was green for the turtles. You never know what. I
feel like it's so good and knowledgeable about Batman is that he filled in the gaps that the movie didn't fill in the gaps. You know what's going on. You filled in the gaps. I feel like the movie didn't fill in that gap. And because that's why you enjoyed it so, because you could fill in the gaps yourself. But they
watched the movie too many times. I watched it too many times.
They should have filled in the gap right then, and that's why I feel like that's where it was lacking. Look, those little things, I mean, written well, everything, but just those little things are different between making a really, really, really good movie and one of the best movies. Period. I feel like they should have done those little leaps. They shouldn't have had to do that. They should have told us, I know who Batman is. They should.
Well, think about it like this. Think about it like this. This is a detective movie, a very noir kind of movie. Everything's not meant to be spoon-fed to you like Marvel. Just saying, pulling it out there. This movie is meant for people to kind of poke it and be like, hey, this masterpiece, what's your take on it? What's your take? And everyone talks about the movie, which of course everyone talks about a Marvel movie in the first place because it's so mainstream, right? They've been having them great movies to start. But in this movie, I feel like the more and more you watch it, the more... What's that?
Batman and Superman are the most mainstream characters
the two
right now. Marvel is killing it in movies. DC's killing it in TV shows. DC ain't killing it in movies right now. As far as production, as far as cinematography, everything that we care about, they haven't been doing their work. They haven't been doing their job. That's why they made this movie, in my opinion, about 3 hours long, because they wanted to kind of play catch up to what Marvel's been doing for the last some years. So I don't know. I feel like Marvel fans are really entitled when it comes to figuring out how something's gonna play out, and but they really are good at having the big pop at the end, like with Endgame, with Civil War, with everything, right? They have that pop to a T, right? Batman and this movie, right? The Batman. I feel like it's more meant to be like a work of art to where you have to start talking about the movie. And yeah, maybe as a fan that doesn't like to think too much, maybe this is too much. You have to, dig into it when it comes to thinking about the plot, thinking about what the setup is. It's not spoon-fed to you. I will give it that. But I like that. I like thinking about movies. As long as they're not too damn complicated, I like it.
So I like real quick, I think you see things that aren't really there.
Yeah, we'll see. Before we get into, so I didn't notice until I watched a bazillion different reviews and Easter eggs and shit, and I walked out of the movie. I was like, when was Gotham under sea level? They never told you in the movie, and then all of a sudden it's under sea level. I was like, they were driving a fucking bridge a bunch of times over. It was like, when was it under sea level? And then you watch all the reviews and they're like, oh, they showed this little part. I was like, what the fuck? When that one scene 2 hours ago is supposed to let me know that it's under, they're like freaking New Orleans. It was like the levees and stuff like that. It was like, I didn't quite get that. So there was a lot of stuff where they're like, oh, hey, remember when Batman showed his electricity in the very first scene? Well, 3 hours later, we're gonna say, see, he can survive electric shock. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, and then he has a battering and doesn't use the battering. He uses it as a knife twice. I was like, what? I'll give it to him. It's his second year, so maybe he doesn't know how he can throw shit. But granted, but real quick, so we didn't get Braden and Mark's thoughts on Riddler.
Well, of course not, because we had Will Brandon raving.
I liked them. I think there was kind of a "you got you" moment because, at the very end, he was talking about I thought you were smarter than this because of the carpet tool that's showing his last plans. So if he had solved everything, he could have stopped the explosions from going off to begin with. And he didn't. So I think he did kind of outsmart him a little bit in the end. But I think no matter how good he did, it was still going to be an impossible task, considering, at least in the standalone movies, the last two villains that Christopher Nolan did were just outstanding.
We're the best.
And it was just sure, you'll appease some people, but I think it was a really tall task to be like, oh yeah, you're gonna go after Heath Ledger and Tom Hardy.
I knew this was coming.
Me and Mark already talked about this.
I knew he was going to be mad.
That is fun.
So we got Martin, who's saying Brady makes a Spoiler King show, but not Dynasty Pylon. Let's see how it is. And I was telling Mark yesterday, it was like, oh, Martin's not going to be happy.
I'd go on the one show I didn't do a logo for.
Yeah, I know it's the one show he didn't do the logo.
Yeah, speaking of.
Nice. Look at that.
That's one of the logos he made. I got me a sticker out of it. So
that was you, man.
Yeah,
that was you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, Braden.
Thank you so much, man. We all love that.
Yeah. So Braden made some of the new logos: Dynasty Pylon, Mooring Spike, and Panda and Grizzly. So So yeah, we appreciate that a lot. And then Martin said, hopefully make more appearances, bro. So
yeah, I'll try.
So, yeah. And he's also, his name is the guy in the chair, which Martin refers to him all the time in the
I know. When I jumped into the backstage area, I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, you put Bane in
and
the
then
chair.
Martin's, yeah, we need you more on the show for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, and also Braden's in the Spoiler Kings Facebook group that we, if you guys haven't joined, link is in the description. Join that. We do a bunch of random movie news, TV news, a bunch of stuff, memes and stuff like that. So I always see Braden always leaving a comment or two. So if you want to join us over there, by all means, please join us. But yeah. All right, so go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark. Before we're really interrupted by your co-host.
No, but I mean, I thought overall Paul Dano did a really good job as Riddler. But I'm more excited, like Will said, like I think this next movie could be like crazy good if you combine him with the Joker. Like that could be like whether they're going against each other and Batman's stuck in the middle, or if they actually team up. Like either whichever direction they go, I think it'd be really good.
We're not ignoring you. Sorry.
No, you're good. And then also, like Riddler isn't one of those, like one of the few villains that Batman doesn't actually like fight. So I kind of thought going into the movie there wasn't really going to be like a fight scene between the two of them or like any kind of climax like that, because that's just not the kind of villain Riddler is. Like he's just.
I mean, most of Batman's villains are not hand to hat. I mean, besides Bane, obviously, you know, that literally breaks his back. But like, you know, Joker's not a hand to hand kind of guy.
He's just
Riddler, Penguin. Yeah. So you know, I mean, like Will said, they're detective comments. So it's like, you know, who's gonna outsmart who kind of thing. But yeah. But what about you, Braden? Save it for last.
I enjoy the Riddler. I like the take on it. Like Will was talking about with the saran wrap. I mean, that whole aspect was to make sure he doesn't leave DNA behind at scenes. Which is weird because like he's not usually a physical villain, so to actually see him attack people was kind of interesting to me. But I mean, I feel like he did outsmart Batman because everything he wanted to accomplish, he got done. He got Falcone shot and killed him. He sunk the city basically, and he was always just one step ahead of Batman because I don't think Batman's quite the detective he will become. But I mean, it was an interesting take, and it's a lot better than like the usual comic book version, I feel like.
Real quick, so since you brought it up that he did like kind of outsmart Batman, I didn't think about it until like the next day, you know, after watching it, even into this morning, was Batman didn't win. This is a
exactly
movie where Batman didn't win. You know, at the end of the movie, he's like acting like he won, but I'm like, Riddler got like you said, he got everything he wanted, got it done, and Batman didn't stop it. You know, so you know, for being,
I think that's where he tricked Batman into catching him. So he thinks Batman thinks he won, but then all the vans blow up and sinks the city, and he's like, "Well, I still won." So
yeah. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. And also, he's like in a spot where he knew he was gonna be safe. You know, like up in prison, up high, you know, where he was looking down on it. But yeah, I didn't think, because I'm like at the end, the way they play it out, I was like, oh, Batman's the hero. But I'm like, you lost, dude. Like you legit lost. You know,
didn't neither one really win, because I mean, it wasn't just about flooding the city. It's about getting everyone in one spot and having kill shots on all those people.
And kill.
No one didn't happen. So neither one really won. It was like a stalemate. And then that's why the Riddler was upset in prison. But then he's there and he's going to meet the Joker, and then that will become epic. They will get out and they'll be able to do all type of things from that. But I feel like this is a good setup. But I will say this: Batman Begins. I didn't think Batman Begins was that good. But then right after that, The Dark Knight came. This was way better than Batman Begins. That's easy to say. So if they're going to come back with another movie that's going to be on Dark Knight's level, that would be probably the best Batman. That would be, well, I'm not saying masterpiece. Yeah. I don't know if this one is it, but I feel like it's a good setup. And we don't know what we're going to have until the next movie.